Is James Harden the greatest Game 1 playoff player in the NBA's history? I mean, at 35 years old, Harden was able to drop 32 points, 11 assists, and 6 boards in the first game of the playoffs this year. Now, the Nuggets were able to walk away with the win at the end of the game, which is something you don't see too often from a Harden-led team. But this loss wasn't in the hands of Harden by any means. He was actually the player that was keeping LA in the game down the stretch by continuously making clutch shots. In fact, Harden was one of 2 players that game that didn't record a negative plus-minus for the Clippers. And now I'm not sure why James Harden is such a threat in the playoffs, but most importantly in the series Game 1. But I do know that I can say I saw this type of performance coming since the matchups were decided. Not that the matchup is necessarily favorable, but just the fact that history repeats itself and Harden is notoriously a Game 1 player above anything else. No matter the round of the playoffs, we know that James Harden is the player to watch out for in Game 1. And to open up this year's playoffs, he's showing us exactly why there isn't a better Game 1 player than James Harden himself. Now we know that James Harden is truly one of the best playoff players of all time, and it all starts with the fact that he makes the playoffs each and every year. For his career of over 16 seasons, Harden has never once been a part of a team that didn't play in the postseason, so he's got his fair share of Game 1 performances on the map. However, in his early years with OKC, we are looking at a Harden as a number 3 option for the team, so we'll ignore those years where he wasn't exactly the leader for the franchise. But the loss from this season gave Harden only his 4th Game 1 loss since 2017, and in that time frame, Harden is a career 13-4 in Game 1s of any round of the playoffs. Across what has now been 4 teams since 2017, even as a former MVP and a player that could only land a 2-year deal this offseason, Harden just became the 10th oldest player to score 30 or more points in a playoff game since 2010. But from 2017 until now, Harden has dropped 30 or more points in specifically Game 1s over 9 times, with this season being the latest added to the list. Not to mention in his 2018 run to the conference finals with the Rockets, Harden dropped 40 plus in Game 1 of every round of that playoff run. In career Game 1 performances, Harden has dropped the 14th most points all time while also playing the 3rd fewest games of any of the players on the list. His point total is up to 725 points in Game 1s across his entire career. And only Curry and Hakeem have scored more points while playing fewer Game 1s than Harden has in their careers. However, you have to remember that it's factoring in the days in OKC when Harden was realistically the 3rd option or even coming off the bench. But with multiple playoff runs where Harden wasn't even attempting 10 shots a game until the 2012 season. So when you factor in those seasons with the Thunder, you can understand why Harden also has the fewest minutes per game of any of the players inside the top 15. While someone like Curry has more total points in Game 1s, you have to consider that for his career, he's played over 4 minutes per game more than Harden has in his career, and still he leads by less than 5 points. But since 2017, Harden has averaged over 31 points, 8 assists, and 5 boards a game in Game 1s of the NBA playoffs, including the fact that he shot over 47% from the field and has a plus-minus that reaches a total of 127. In fact, he's only had 2 Game 1s since 2017 where he's even recorded a negative plus-minus. But I will say that in the same time frame, a Game 1 loss for James Harden has more than likely resulted in a series loss based on history, which I still like the Clippers to walk away with the win in this series and potentially complete one of the most difficult playoff runs in NBA history if they can stay healthy. But the main point is to watch for whether James Harden can keep up the same performance he had in Game 1 onto Game 2 of this series against the Nuggets, because the truth is that in Game 2, Harden has dropped under 15 points 6 times since 2017. But the main topic of the video isn't about Harden in Game 2, so that doesn't even matter. But you guys comment any player who you think is a bigger threat when it comes to the Game 1 of any series in the playoffs, because for me it has to be James Harden, and he's proved that again this year. And if the Clippers advance, we'll get another chance to prove this theory in the next round. But thank you guys for watching, and also let me know if you enjoyed the video.